Thursday, October 3rd, we want to excuse Lisa and also Reed. Brandon will be here at our regular session for the City Council. So let's first talk about agenda items, and we were asking Bryce about the Perez property, which is on the agenda tonight. So there were 10 items that Planning Commission had requested. You know, they approved it with these conditions for it to come to us, and these are the 10 conditions. So
they forwarded it for approval, right?
Yes, Planning Commission forwarded it for approval on condition that when it came to City Council that he would have had to have met these 10 conditions. So Taylor, Jared, Malcolm have reviewed this and met with him, and everything has been met. So it should be, as far as, well, whatever you decide to vote on tonight, that these have been met as far as what he requested in Planning Commission.
I noticed in this there was like a power line that runs over the middle of the lot
So what are they
where the
now?
house would be built.
Yeah, Taylor worked with David at JUB, and there's no Rocky Mountain Power easement, which is interesting, but there's not an easement, so he's good in terms of easements from Rocky Mountain
So
Power.
they'll just have that running through their lot?
Yeah.
Oh, an overhead power over their home.
It's in the back of the lot, in the back ways, from what I understand, yeah. And again, I wasn't there for 90% of this, I'm just on the tail end, but yeah, that's what Jared and Taylor discussed in the meeting. Normally they do go underground though, right? But in this case, there was no easement, it's there, so.
It says there's an overhead power line that runs in the middle of the property, so I just wondered how that was addressed. It appears the Rocky Mountain Power has easement through the lot. Show easement lines. What is the plan for the existing? So what is the plan for the existing power line? I mean, is that a problem or?
Is that you said is in the back, so it won't be over any structures?
That's correct, yeah. Let's see, we're on, which number are you on?
So,
Which item are you on there? 1 through 10,
So-
which number's up?
Six.
so where are they gonna be running the power to the home from?
So, again, Jared's concerned there, it looks like he says it appears that Rocky Mountain Power has an easement through the lot, which was false. It appeared, but Jared's wrong, so there's no easement. Show easement lines, there's none to show. What is the plan with existing power lines? They're gonna remain, because they're already functioning. He must be pulling power from them, I'm assuming.
So that's their means
We
of
can ask
getting power?
Perez tonight,
Okay.
but that must
That'd
be
be
their
Alright,
input,
yeah.
yeah, that would be.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's where it's at with that portion, so.
So what about number 9? It says, frontage improvement should be designed and include 230 feet of curb and gutter, park strip, and a 4-foot sidewalk. There's not a single sidewalk or curb on that entire road.
Yeah.
So why are we,
That's a good point. So
why are we doing
yeah,
that?
Jared and Taylor have already started the escrow, which I believe is more addressed in 10. They're gonna pull an escrow on this one, just for if we ever develop it.
escrow would make more sense.
Yeah, that's what staff determined, but it's always, that's what we recommended.
Okay.
I thought too, if it's all right with you, if one of you want to make the motion, we could move Perez up before the presentation on the soccer. He might not want to sit and listen to the whole soccer
might enjoy it.
presentation. So he might, and he might stay anyway, but, and that would need to be by motion, if one of you would want to move that up.
idea would be good.
Sure. So another thing with this guy, just looking at the satellite view on Google Maps. So he's the one that brought in all this
All the
film
dirt, yeah.
material
Right.
from the school,
Mhm.
and we had to shut it down. So it looks like all the film material is still there.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Are we ever going to require him to remove all that? Or what was the end
So that's,
game on that?
Brandon's
is-
probably gonna explain that.
yeah,
right?
yeah, and Brandon's worked with him on this, and so what they decided was he's only applying for a one lot subdivision, and
Mhm.
that it is on the other part, and so Brandon said as long as he was in conformity with a one lot subdivision, then it should be approved. Then we will address all that rest.
So has it actually been surveyed off and it's now deeded to Efrain and all, it's a standalone lot and doesn't include the
Yes.
ground that Brian's referring to?
Yeah. And then we do need to deal with that, and that will be a separate
Let's see.
issue.
Well, I'm wondering if we approve his lot with conditions that he's gonna clean this mess up at some point. You know what I mean? To kind of hold him
You know,
hostage a little bit.
And I noticed that's
Yeah.
what Brandon said in the meeting. He said on the remaining parcel, there still remains an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
One of the issues, I think, is that Ephraim, and I think his dad, that's his dad's name also, they're two separate entities that own it. So I think the dad owns the rest of it, and he only owns the 1 acre. So I don't know if we could really make conditions on him
Has
for
it
the
been deeded
rest
off
of
to him?
it.
Yep.
I think so. We
Yeah.
can ask, though.
well, it
Yes,
has to be,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Has to be.
But they weren't all that pleasant to deal with.
No,
you,
they
I
weren't.
mean,
I had to
about
call.
moving that lot.
Oh, they
I had to
I've
call
heard
the
it.
foreman of the junior high school and say, "You're done bringing dirt down here.
Mhm.
You don't have a permit. It's not zone commercial. All these things," and he wasn't even aware of it. He was just like, "I'm so sorry. We'll stop tomorrow."
Yeah, because
And
the neighbors were.
Perez was like, "Oh, bring it all down. No big deal."
Yeah.
You know.
And we're gonna haul it right back out.
Exactly.
I mean, that, right? It should have all
Exactly.
been done, but anyway.
Let's tear up our roads a little bit more with all this commercial truck traffic without approval.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. The whole thing rubbed me wrong from the beginning because he was just doing it at will without any
Well,
approval.
I mean, there were trucks constantly.
Constantly.
On,
Well, you
on
can
the
go look at
roads.
the dirt pile. I mean,
Yep.
it's,
So I guess that's my question is, does he even have a plan to clean that up? Or when's he gonna take it all back out? You know, is there an agreement with the school district in Davis County? Is it just his dirt now?
Well, my understanding was that he was storing it for them
That's what I
yeah,
thought too.
that's
and
what we were
was
told.
was getting paid to store it for
Right.
them.
But
And
you'd
then
think the
they
school would be
wanted it
long
back.
done by now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was over a year ago.
So, and I don't know what school it was for.
I'm not sure either. They were remodeling
I think it
one.
was Sunset.
Was it Sunset Junior?
High, I
Yeah,
think.
I think you're right.
I think we just have to deal with, though, this 1 acre lot that's in front of us tonight. And if it is his dad, I certainly think Brandon can ask him, or we can ask him. I don't know, though, that we can hold his lot up because of another parcel, because it's two separate parcels and it's two separate owners.
Well, the access to that dirt pile goes right through his property over the top of the river or the slough.
I think where his is, though, isn't now. I think when he's in, I don't know if we have that on ours,
Is
but
it-
I think
Does it show it owns it? Can you pull up who owns it? Like, is it a separate parcel number
Oh,
on what you're looking
I'd
at?
have to look at Weber County GeoGizmo, but I can. Just give me a second here.
Yeah. Anyway, just reading through this, it said the commission recommends approval so long as it does not go to the city council agenda until JUB reviews it. You review it, Jared reviews it, and you approve it. So it took all of you before it should ever,
been on our agenda.
Been on the
And
agenda
it was,
tonight.
he came and met, because it wasn't ready last time, that's why it didn't, and then he's been working with them and came and met.
and been pretty decent, right? Efrain, his son's been,
Yeah,
Pretty
I never
decent.
met the father, I don't know him at all.
Not gonna work on my phone. Has to be on a computer with Flash.
Any other questions on this while Ryan's looking that up?
anyway, you know, Malcolm, I think in the meeting, if you wouldn't mind just going so it's
Sure.
in the minutes, and
Yeah.
I think that would be,
Yeah, we can do that, just make sure it's publicly acknowledged in the minutes. We do that, I've got a slide, I've got a slide for the 10 items. We'll go
okay,
through 'em.
excellent, yeah, that'd be great. Okay,
Our other agenda item is a presentation on the soccer. So she'll be here tonight. Did anybody have any questions on that?
Look forward to seeing what she has
yeah,
to say.
maybe after the presentation, huh?
If there's gonna be a gentleman with her, I got his name here somewhere.
So just to be clear, the property that they're interested in is just west of our soccer fields, right?
Yes.
Just west, okay.
Dan Treese is
Dan Treese, yeah, okay.
And I don't even know if they've even been in communication with the Trees family over it, or, they, you know,
We've heard this.
They just saw it, like, hey, we want that.
Not, we'll just have to ask. See, I don't know why the city's even kind of involved in it, actually. You know, the last time I talked to, who was the fellow that used to live here in Berwick?
Jason Tonioli.
Tony Oli.
yeah.
It's like this, like they're gonna do everything. They're gonna buy the property, install the fields, put up the lights, put in the restrooms. They'll maintain it. I mean, when you go through the list of things, or maybe we'll ask her this in her presentation, but if all that's covered, then where, I mean, I think it's a great place for it. I don't have any, it's just that I'm not sure why the city, I mean, we'll have to ask her what she
Well,
wants the
maybe
city to do.
just, some cities wouldn't want the traffic on the
Well,
weekend.
maybe, yeah,
Maybe that's,
Yeah,
you know, just to make sure that what their
there you go.
intentions are, that we
Yeah.
will be okay with it.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be great.
Jason was saying that some cities even lease with them for like a 30-year lease, because sounded like long term they weren't totally committed to taking care of it, totally, like way long term,
Yeah.
20, 30 years out. So they only sign these leases with cities for that period of time. So there's an end. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's an end for them to take care of it. You know, so I don't know if that's
So that's why they kind
the
of want
reason, or if they just want permanent ownership of it, or what the deal is. But that's the way.
well, that'll be a good question. Are they going to eventually deed it to the city?
Right.
And is that their plan or
Right.
not? And if not, then who, well, they'd be responsible for there'd be some tax where they're a private entity like that, I would guess, property tax.
You would think. Wouldn't be Greenbelt anymore.
Wouldn't be Greenville anymore. Okay,
Well,
those
those
are
will be
good
good
questions.
questions. Okay, anything else? Any questions?
I just, since the ad hoc committee was brought up, I thought maybe we ought to get an ordinance into our little thing, because Plain City and those have an ad hoc ordinance. And so I just brought one that we can look at from Plain City that maybe we can look at and then talk about at one of our next meetings, yeah. So that if we decide to do one of these in the future, that we're prepared for one. And just have Reed go over it or whatever and have it put on the agenda for us to look at.
We have something in ours already too on an ad hoc.
Do we?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
so
somewhere
anyway.
because I know when I was looking at that, because when I was thinking about doing that, you know, that committee, there was something in there that the mayor could appoint an ad hoc.
Yeah, because this
committee,
one, they're
so-
ran by the city council, in most all of the cities that I looked at. And so I thought just to clarify that, just like you request it and have oversight of it, and then we take care of getting it put together for you and doing all of that.
Yeah, I think ours is a little different than that, but this is good.
Yeah.
Then we can
So
compare
I
it to
thought
what we
could-
already have
I
in
thought we
place.
could go through it
Yeah.
and everyone could see, and, we could maybe put the two together or, do something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Okay. Which comes to the point, and I'll just give you an update as far as the fiscal analysis. So last meeting, of course, we voted, or the city council voted to accept the one from LRB. So I notified Stuart of that. He was in agreement to pay for that. I sent an email to Zions. They responded back if ever we need them. Sent an email, called a couple of times to LRB, have not heard back. So I don't know if Bryce, you want to be the follow-up person. I mean, somebody
I can call him.
needs to be.
Who reached
Or-
out to him? I can call him for sure, but who got LRB?
Well, so
Did
both
you?
of us, I think,
Yeah.
had reached out to him, and they had sent an
Do you have their
email.
contact?
Yeah, I
I'll get it from you.
Okay, because so I haven't heard back from them at all. I sent them, what I did in the email is I sent them Stuart's information because I thought they were going to at least have to see the scope of the project in order for them to be able to do that.
Right.
And I haven't, the email I was sending to Bryce was Fred at lrb.com or lrbfinancialmaybe.com. I could forward you what I had. I just haven't heard back. And so I just called the number I got off the website because I didn't really have a phone number. And when you call them, it says you can type in the first three letters. And so I typed in FRE and it came back and said, this is Fred. And I left a couple of messages and never heard.
Okay.
So if you want to just to
Sure.
make sure.
So do
that
we have
everything-
kind of agreement with Stuart? Like, could we write up an agreement and say that he agrees to pay for that? I mean, I think we should have something, because, whether it's positive or negative or however it comes back.
Did you say he agreed to it? I thought you
He
just said
said-
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Stuart said
but you're
he
saying in
agreed.
writing.
Yeah.
Okay,
have an
I got you.
agreement to
Okay.
So maybe Fred
Yeah,
doesn't
I'll
work
get
for
to that.
LRB anymore. That's
do it. Yeah, well, maybe.
the only person that we
Well, I
reached out
know,
to.
I'd call.
that's.
I think there'd be a general number we could call.
There is a
If
general
not, then I
number,
guess we go with
so
Zions.
maybe just
So-
follow up with them and see.
Seems like
They
it was
were
on their
pretty
letterhead, on that bid that we had.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There
Um,
could be a phone number on that
That would
bid.
be
That's a good
in
point.
last month's packet. Let me
Okay.
see if I can find it here.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it would just be good to follow up and make sure, because, I had sent what you had sent to Malcolm, and Malcolm had typed up that sheet, and so we sent that to him. But I didn't really, with, I don't know if with them or with I remember both of them had said, kind of a 3-week timeline, but we won't make that because it's already been 2 weeks. But it'd be good just to make sure they have it and they know,
Yeah.
because I just haven't heard back from anybody to say,
Yeah.
this is great, we're excited to work with you, not any at all, so,
Yeah, there's nothing on their letterhead either. No contact.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention too, we probably ought together, since we're the ramp grant council, we probably should decide on what we want to do that, since that's coming up quickly.
coming right up, yes, and I have a list, I have a couple of other things to talk about, and yes, let's do, so I talked to staff about maybe some suggestions that they might have, so I'll see if I can,
When's the due date for those?
That's due the first part of the year.
it's January 12th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, that's all on LRB. Seniors lunch, I don't know if you noticed the flyer out on the front, so they are doing that
Was
the
that
first.
today?
It was yesterday. The first and third Wednesdays, but
I was
we,
supposed to do it.
no, you don't have to anymore, Bryce,
Oh.
that's what I was gonna tell you. So we had Chris Morris, Blair Cottle are kind of been the ones now. They've gone to Gail Simpson, and so they've gotten donations to cover, I think I mentioned this last time, one of the weeks. The city's going to cover one of the weeks, and what we're actually doing with this, they're asking for a $4 donation by the seniors, which is what they did before. So we actually have an account set up now where all the donation money will go in. And then at the end of the month, we will get an invoice for what the amount is that we owe, and then we will just pay. And so with the $4, we still might be paying $10 to $12 a person. They had a real good turnout. They had about 15 residents that came yesterday. But we still haven't heard back from like Roy of West Haven's going to go in. So we don't really have an interlocal agreement to write up or anything yet because we don't know what our responsibility
the
will be.
Well, yeah, and I misunderstood.
Gal Simpson,
Like catering?
Gal
Oh, yeah,
Simpson.
yeah,
Yeah, they're catering.
Oh,
They're
are
going
they?
to cater it. And so
Wow.
they come, and it was the missionaries that came and plated it, they
Hmm.
said. Is that who Jamie came? And plated the food was the missionaries?
Not Dale Whittison, Dale Simpson. Dale Whittison?
Kate and Gail Simpson?
Gail, sorry.
Yeah.
I heard Dale.
Yeah.
Gail.
Yeah, Kate and Gail Simpson.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
so Gail's the one, anyway, that's doing the food. So I think it was a great turnout,
I had
and the
no idea
food
they did
was
catering.
good, and I think they will
So-
like the food a lot better. And
According to minutes, though, we've never voted on a budget money or anything that says it'll be Roy, if we pay Roy City $2,000 a month, it will be voted on next meeting.
Yeah, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. We haven't heard back from
So
Roy, so
we're-
we're not voting on that.
Oh, so really, the money's not coming out of our budget, it's out of donations at
Oh,
this point.
right now, we're just talking about when the seniors come here on Wednesdays,
Right.
not the Roy Center.
No, I understand
Oh.
that, but so didn't you mention that we would be paying
So,
out of,
yeah, and we
So
did
where does that-
talk,
where
we
does
did
that-
talk about that. It's been, we did like a couple of times a few months ago even, about if we would pay once a month. for
but
the
no, we've
seniors.
never approved it. In fact, in our minutes, if we approve the minutes tonight, it actually says
Yeah.
that this will be voted on next meeting.
So what that's
So-
talking about is with the Roy, with the $2,000 in our minutes. But we can't approve that yet because we don't know if we're doing
Right.
that.
So how are we paying, how are we paying for this other money you're talking about? We've never agreed.
We need to set up a budget for it.
Yeah, so we had talked about this a while back,
Well,
we would be willing to do it. It was like, the first time this came up was when, I bet it's been 2 months ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember talking about it.
Yeah,
What we need to do is set up its own budget
yeah.
and then vote on it.
Yeah, and so there is a line item now that they're going to take all the donations in, they're going to take the $4 and then see what's left at the end of the month. They have enough money to pay probably, they said, for a year to cover, and then when we get the donations, so yeah, we can set up a budget
Yeah,
and do that.
Because we'll probably need to figure in about how much we estimate that we're going to need to be able to put
Mhm.
into it for the year, and
Yeah.
then just vote and approve that amount for an annual senior
Yeah.
citizen dinner.
So maybe at the end of the month, when we see what it is, that would kind of give us a better indication.
Yeah,
Then we can times that by, at least till the end of this year and figure it out.
right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we don't know yet. They've only done it once.
Yeah,
And there's plenty of money in there, probably for 6 months to cover it. So,
yeah. That'll work so that we can have it all prim and proper budget wise. So, and then I guess I misunderstood. I didn't realize it was going to be $24,000 a year to Roy.
it was 2.
2,000.
Or well,
2,000 a month,
yeah,
No,
No,
2,000.
2,000 a
that's
year.
what it says.
That's what it says in
2,000
here.
a month will be
paying Roy
voted.
2,000 a month.
No,
No, we need
2,000 a year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go for 2,000
Well,
a month.
yeah, that's what it said. That's why
Really?
I said, yeah,
That's-
that's why
that's
I
all
said I was
highlighted with the
misunderstood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
I missed that.
we'll just, that'll be
So this is supposed to be a year.
2,000 a year.
Okay,
yeah.
because I read
It's like,
that and I
whoa.
thought,
No,
whoa,
no, it was 2,000 a year.
I'm like whacked out here.
Yeah.
I really misunderstood.
So when if you just make that correction in the minutes tonight, when we go to review the minutes,
Good catch.
so.
Yeah, I wouldn't 2,000 miles. That's a lot.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking,
Good job.
that's a little,
So I just want to make sure, so there's no money approved today to pay
No.
any senior lunches today?
Because we don't have an amount today. When we get an amount, so like I say, at the end of the month, and it may not be till 6 months before we'll even know what an amount is, because there's enough from these donations in there to cover it. So when it comes down and, but we can see what the bill is at the end of the month and kind of figure it, but like you say, we won't know.
Yeah,
Because so far, we're not paying anything yet.
yeah, that's a good idea.
So, okay. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to keep you apprised real quick. So TextMyGov, we signed up for that as of last December, and we've really never done anything with it.
Right, and
We've had 650 residents that have signed up, and Morgan and myself have been to a couple of trainings now with the person. So something I found out that I didn't realize, and maybe you did, but so it says TextMyGov, but there's actually a number that you have to text to. So if I want to call and say a stop sign done, it's like a regular 10-digit number that we have to, but it's not listed on there. So they're supposed to make a new little forward arrow to put that on there so people know. Another problem we found out with it is it really wasn't going anywhere. So he said we'd had like 1,000 messages so far, but no one had gotten them. So while we were in this training, I actually texted the stop signs down, gave him my address, and Steph said that's the first one she's ever gotten. Another problem with it, though, that we found is it doesn't do any good for someone on a Friday to text and say the stop sign's down if no one even sees that until Monday. So what we're going to do is we're getting tablets, and so Darren already has one with the sewer, but then we're going to get one for streets and parks that will have a separate number associated with it. So we're going to have categories. So if someone was to have, say, my stop sign's down, that message would actually go to the streets supervisor, so they would know that it came.
okay.
Because right now, so we're going to come up with categories. There could be streets, sewer, parks. We thought community events. If you can think of any other subcategories you want those to go to, I think it could be really valuable. But it's not valuable if we're not using it and we're
Right.
paying.
And when they presented it, they told us all that. So that's why
Yeah.
I've been like,
Well,
frustrated. And we can make all of our announcement, like our Labor Day thing, we could do a thing, don't forget Labor Day's
yeah.
stuff starts tomorrow or
Or like the
something
emergency
that.
preparedness, if
Yeah.
there was some that wanted to go out, and really to have 650 is really quite a few. I mean, not relative to, but I think if we actually started using it and people could see that it was effective, they would probably say, hey, to their neighbors and family and friends, have you signed up?
So why did they never say anything to us? Surely they
Well,
knew that we weren't using it,
Yeah,
and we were paying them.
I don't
I think
know.
we should say, hey, we haven't used this for 9 months.
But we
then
have
paid you this money.
75,000 that we could have used within the year, so we still have
So,
74,000.
so what's the next event coming up? The Halloween
Oh,
Hall?
no.
Maybe just send that out and just
Yeah, see if
what
it works.
See if it works.
We got plenty of
Yeah.
text to go.
So I think we signed up, but then there was, I don't know. I don't know that anybody was ever specifically put in charge.
Well,
and
Teresa
said,
was,
"Will you-"
but then she left right after she started the
well,
training.
Yeah,
so.
December, and then, but January 1, we never started it, and so, anyway, it doesn't,
Yeah.
but anyway, so we're going to start, and one thing we really said, the
So-
text,
So
go ahead.
what's really gonna, when you say, so now we're going to start, what does that mean?
So we're working with, we have an individual now who's going to help us through this. So we'll try. That would be a good trial, is for
Like we're
the
hiring
Halloween
someone?
hunt. Oh
or-
no. So
Or
it would
the-
either be like if we put Stephanie in charge of this, or Morgan, just somebody now that will send a text to those 650 residents. Remember Halloween hunt this Saturday. So because we've never done it so far, we haven't used it. Like, at all, we haven't used it.
We haven't responded to any of the 1,000 messages that have come in.
Well, because they haven't even, we didn't
They
even
don't
get
know.
them. Yeah,
So
because,
that's a good question right there, so where have they gone? We don't know?
we don't know.
Again, they should have responded to
Yeah.
us and says, hey, there's a problem with your system because nobody's responding to your message. I mean,
Yeah.
they should have known there was a problem, right?
I thought it actually showed up here.
The administrators of the whole
Steph's had
company.
one, and it was mine, that says my stop sign's down. And I typed in my address, and she said that's the first one she's gotten ever.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the difference was. Why did yours?
Well, because then I actually did that number. So it says I
Yeah,
text my
perfect.
gov and there's a little thing that says text this number to link, to sign up. You sign up, but that doesn't actually text a message to the city. So all it did, so if you text and it's like a 5 or 6 digit number, that signs you up for it. But I actually had to go in and I put it in my
'cause
phone.
that text my gov, that icon comes up at home. I mean, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you find the
So-
number?
So now does it, see Debbie, if you slide over, does it have that number now? He told me they were going to put it on, but
Yeah,
I
it
don't
does.
know if he did.
It does. You just click the side and
What
it
do you-
says
what do you want,
text
the
hi.
website?
Text us to find information or
Yeah,
report
she's on the
information.
website, yeah.
Set text hi to 801-845-3266.
See, no one had that number, so they didn't know, and
So
so
we're
they
gonna
had
send out a
signed up.
blanket message with that number also.
So
There's-
when I did this number and said my stop sign is down, gave him my name, phone number, and address, Steph said, "Hey, I finally got one."
Oh, yeah.
But there was never one before, and so that's why he said he would put that on, and he said, they haven't figured out yet, but we want the text my gov maybe to be a little side thing. When you're trying to look up stuff on your phone, it never goes away, and the biggest complaint we had about Tomato Days was they were trying to find stuff, and it never, it's
Even if
always
you hit
on
on the
top.
little X, it's still just,
It's
I know,
always
just-
there.
it's annoying. But so we've had this for all this time,
Since December.
and they've been billing us, you're saying?
I
or-
think you signed
We
a
paid-
2-year contract or
Yeah. We
something
paid up
with
front.
it.
We
It's like
did.
a 3-year
Oh, it's a
contract or
3-year?
something, or was it
Yeah.
2-year?
I can't.
I don't
But
know.
if it's not working,
Well, it is now because I can see this thing. So, but we're
Yeah.
going to have to let people know.
Yes, we are, and so he said he would send us some flyers if we wanted to put them out, in our next newsletter, we could do it. I think it could be a great tool, but it's not a great tool if we don't use it. So then what's the purpose of it? Then to me, we're just throwing money away if we're not using it. And that's,
so, but it's never come to anybody in the city. No one's, people have tried it, do you think, besides you, or?
Oh yeah,
Well-
I told Blake their stop sign was down. I said just do text my gov.
but did he have that number or
He
only?
didn't.
See,
And
so,
he said, well, nothing happened.
yeah.
Because he said, well, that is cool that we can do that.
Yeah, but it didn't ever.
But it
And then it doesn't
now-
go to anywhere. So that's why we thought, like Steph said, we talked about, we could just do to have it come on Friday and say, my stop sign's down, but she doesn't even get them until Monday. Or like my sewer's backed up, and hopefully they would call, and it's dispatch and goes through. But if we actually had a number for sewer, then sewer would get that message rather than waiting,
Yeah.
3 or 4 days. So I think it could be, and we said cemetery could be a good one that they could send a message to. So
Yeah. I think that's.
So what is it correct, what's actually correcting it then? I mean, they've corrected it with that number,
yes, but residents need
Yeah.
to know.
See.
So the only way it'll be corrected is when residents know they have to do it with that number.
So we can send a message out with the
We
number
can send out
as
that
well.
message, with the number and say,
And how, and the menu, or the categories of how to work it.
yeah,
Streets, sewer,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Parks,
Park.
like we had a problem with the park, being vandalized.
So there's going to have to
By-
be a little training.
We're pretty sure teenagers, but anyway, so you could, like if
Here's
someone went to use the
texting
bathroom and saw, they could have texted this, and then Parks would have got it,
And you
and they
text
could have
it.
sent someone over, because they ended up locking him up for a couple of days.
so that number is like a phone number that's
It's
on
like
there
a
now.
phone number.
And that's just started,
Right.
just fairly recent.
Well, it's been there all along, none
Yeah,
of
we
us
just
knew,
didn't know
that's
because
the
we didn't touch
problem.
the side thing. So then you just text your number.
Yeah, but so no, I think let's give it a best shot we can, we've signed
Yeah.
up, so let's
use it.
get it
Yeah.
going, yeah, and if they
So-
could just move that little text my gov, we said, couldn't it just be a tab, and he was gonna work with his people to see if they
Did
could.
they,
just
did they
change.
roll over? Do you remember if they rolled over?
They do, They
Okay.
do roll
Seems
over.
like they did.
Okay.
Yes, so,
If you don't use it, right, it
Yes.
rolls over.
so we'll have 65,000, well, if we send out the 650 and maybe something at Christmas, but we'll still
So,
have probably 70.
As far as here at the city, what's going to improve it then? Is this gonna go to someone,
Yeah, so then we're going to have a tablet for like our sewer director, our streets, our parks. So if someone typed in and said, my stop sign is down, that will go to our street on his tablet. He will get that. Then he could notify who's on call. So then he could say, you know, will
so
you?
how do they do that? Cause we're all getting the same number, how will that, they'll have to do something
There's
new
categories,
to.
There's categories.
subcategories after you text the number.
Yeah, they'll handle that.
Yeah. So on their end, it'll already be built into their program that if, so say if we have 5 categories, A category goes to streets, B goes to parks, C goes to sewer, D goes to cemetery, E goes to community events. So the A one, if that's our sewer, then on their end, the sewer will go to the sewer person, to Darren's number. If it's a park one, it'll go to Steve's number. If it's
Okay.
streets, it'll go to Cody. If it's cemetery, it'll go to Steph. If it's community events, it'll go to Aaron.
So that's what we need to buy. The city will have to buy these tablets or?
Well, 2 of them, because Darren already has one, which they need them anyway, because we also need to be able to send them work orders, not just with this, but with our Verizon, with the city's phone plan, we can get them really pretty inexpensive. So, and we have money in the budget under computers, and we've needed to do it anyway, because we can't email. Like, the only one we could was just Darren, because Cody's new, but Steve never had it. So we have a work order that needs to be done, and we have a sticky note that when they come in, we say, hey, and it really needs to be on a tablet. So, yeah, so I think that'll be a lot better to do that. So,
Did
Yeah.
can I ask a question about this Andy Neff? Did anybody ever respond?
Just what?
Andy Neff?
Yes,
I did today.
I
too.
You
I
did
did
today?
the last time.
Uh-huh.
I sent to him and I said it will, it'll get moved and
Mhm.
everything. But did you tell him that we have a rotation?
Yeah, I told him it's on the list. Also, to
For-
get
for
those
what?
electronic
Andy
ones,
Neff.
they're
keeps wanting
$2,500 because I've
trailer
checked into them.
maintenance.
Oh, the
Like the
traffic
one that's on
trailer?
5100.
Yeah.
So that would be nice to do, to have some of those. But that would be something maybe next year in the budget we could put in, that we could get a few of those, because they're
Yeah, so
2,500.
I had a question. So I still have the assignment of the traffic trailer, even though I don't move it. I mean,
Well,
I can't, no one can just take me off just arbitrarily because we all voted to put me there. But so I've got a list. I checked with Steph where to put it, but I used to get notices. I mean, I would get them when it was down 5,900, a lot of them. And then you notify the sheriff's department and say, okay, at this time of day is when the speeding is worse. Now I'm not getting any of those.
I think they
Do you
probably
know
go to
why?
Steph. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So
but
I'll
I
just
would
check
assume,
with her.
I would
Okay.
check with Steph.
Could,
Yeah, but
could I
Public
make a
Works is-
suggestion on the 5100 one? Just, it probably needs to be a little bit farther north.
I agree.
People don't get up to speed that
Why,
quick.
that's quick. And I thought it needed to be maybe just a little bit off the side of the road a little bit. It looked a little close.
Well, yeah,
So-
because everybody can see it as soon as they turn the corner.
Yeah.
And
it
then
needs to be-
everybody's,
yeah.
I've noticed everybody's slowing down.
Well,
And then as
good.
soon as, well,
should
no,
go.
Well, but
as soon
then-
as they pass it, then they,
It should go across the street from the church is where it should go, and that they can feel
Yeah.
it.
Some time to
because
get the
they,
speed.
they really don't ramp up any speed after.
Because you could actually keep it right on the street, because the street's wider right there.
Yeah,
You know?
I
agree. It
I
needs to be
think
farther
so
down.
too.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good
Just
suggestion.
from
Thank you.
observing that road personally.
Yeah, let me make a note so I don't forget to.
But again,
Well, I'll go ahead and follow up on that.
who's getting the reports? Like if,
So-
if she's getting the reports,
Well, I
then
guess
we need to
she's-
call the sheriff and say, hey, here's when our speeders
Yeah.
are
See.
at this time of day.
Yeah.
That's
Can you
what
come
I used to
patrol it
do.
then?
See, that's
Yeah.
what
You know?
when we had it the last time.
That's the
when-
whole purpose of the trailer.
That's what we did, and you could actually chart this out and say, from 5:30 to 6:30, this is when they're speeding, and then I think it really worked on 4700. But
4700.
I'll follow up
Lots
on
of
that.
tickets. Did you see all those
yeah.
tickets?
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, I will.
He gives them.
Sherry, I'll follow up with
Did you
Steve.
see? Did you see the report?
Ryan, will you go out and see
He
who's in?
was I mean, they have a grant who gives them those tickets. Oh,
Is that her dad?
no, he's traffic control. It's like twice as many tickets as
Really?
everybody else.
Wow.
It's like Blake said, seriously, the ticket to his own.
Really?
He said, if he pulled his money out, he would give her a ticket.
Wow.
He said, that's how ruthless he is. And I said, I'm not gonna
I,
Okay.
so we got to get back to the ramp ideas,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And then
Yes.
I have 3 other things I just want to mention.
Okay, do you want to hurry and?
Sure. Okay, so last 2 weeks ago you mentioned about the IT guy coming in.
Yes, yes.
So is that something we need 3 bids for, or is it going to be under the threshold?
It's under the threshold.
Okay, good. I wasn't
Under
sure. 'Cause-
5,000?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then, do you have like, so now that Bryant's gone, so we're exclusively using JUB, has there been a big disparity between JUB
Well, we just
being
need
more
a-
money?
That's one thing, we just don't get it, where's the budget, you know, we used to get that.
She coming pretty
I've
soon?
seen June's, she's working on, because from then till she gets the
Okay.
budget done, it's the audit. That usually doesn't show up. Last year, we didn't get it until February. This year, we're hoping we'll get it sooner than that. So she's working on that. So it has to do
So
with
we're
the
not,
audit.
we're not overly spending with JUB versus Bryant,
No.
so we're,
No,
is that, okay.
JUB, in fact, they just barely sent in a so we don't have a contract currently with JUB. We don't have a contract with our attorney. That's something that I'm working on because we actually got called out on that from the auditors. I think you all got a message about that. It's been quite a few months ago
I think so.
from the auditors department because
Recording in progress.
because we didn't have those contracts.
With our,
We don't have a contract with JUB. We don't have a contract with our attorney.
when we got something from where?
The auditor, the state auditor, and it came to everybody because I saw it. It went to all of our city
I
council.
think I saw something.
Yeah, go back and anyway.
And then the,
So JUB is sending us they sent us a contract and currently it's with Brandon and Reed for review. But
okay,
it was the same in our budget. That's another thing. This year in our budget, we're going to try to make a few more specific columns than we've had in the past, so better we can see what it is. So for general services, they gave an amount for stormwater, but we don't have a category in our budget for stormwater. So then, Cami, we were trying to see if we could figure out where that fits in. And so when we do the budget next year, I think we're gonna have a few more classifications. So it's easier to identify. If this is, stormwater, it goes here. If it's general engineering, it goes here, rather than having to go through the budget and try to hit and miss kind of areas.
okay.
Yeah.
Then the last one is just, I know we voted on 5% of the utility tax going into the emergency preparedness fund. I just want to make sure that's happening. So you guys all remember that? We voted on it.
Do we know how much has come in
So-
so far?
Cami would.
So if I could call
I don't
Cami,
know.
I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that's
make
happening.
sure she knows that.
She,
Because as of when Teresa was here, we had not received nearly what we thought we would.
You
So,
talked to Candy
Yeah,
though, right? And
I
she said-
talked to Cami about it, and she said we're budgeted to receive what we
so,
projected.
so I don't know that we've received it yet, but different months are different.
Right.
So by the time
What were we
when we
at?
get
Up
this
to-
audited budget,
311,000.
it should be. Yeah. Well, originally they put in, I think, 480.
Well, that was
Four
just up to
something.
June 1st.
Yeah, so by the time it goes full, for
Year.
a full year, I think we should be close,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
Tammy
she
said
said-
it
We don't
should be
know
up
that
to
yet.
close.
Yeah, she said that,
480,000, so.
so
she
just call
thought
Cami and
it's
just make
projected.
sure
Yeah.
that's going in.
Yeah.
Just give her a
Yeah,
check.
and I'll make a note and when she comes in like every couple of weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so with 5% of
Yeah, we
utility.
voted on 5% to go to the emergency, which can be pretty broad, say, hey, storm drain blows out and we don't have enough money, you know, we kept it broad enough where we could actually use that for a lot of different things.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Okay, do you want to talk about grants?
Yeah,
Okay, so I asked the workers if what we could see that we could possibly, and they gave some suggestions. And so then I think what we should do is probably by next meeting would be good to have, if we had a list and let you vote on what you would like those grants. I think we're just gonna try to write them in-house, have, you know, staff work on those, try to get those done. Okay, so one thing.
One thing, do you still write them for West Haven? Do you still write grants for West
I
Haven?
am the grant writer for West Haven, yes. Yeah. Okay, so, one thing that they had mentioned about was possibly doing an upgrade to the baseball diamond down at the other Hooper Park. The lights down there, well, this time there was one more that turned on than usual, but usually about half of the lights turn on, and they're not LED lights. So that could be a project of upgrading the lights so they are LED lights. The backstop needs to be, and they said they didn't really think you could re-stretch the chain link on it. Would probably just have to do a whole new backstop. And they talked about doing a pitcher's mound. You know, it might not be a permanent pitcher's mound because I guess baseball and softball have a different distance for their pitcher's mound and maybe even a little different design for that. Anyway, that could be a possibility because we have had a few people that have wanted to rent the baseball diamond. We probably will never, if someone's going to do a big baseball tournament, they will go somewhere that has multiple fields, but it still would be nice to have one. I know we did buy some bases this year because we haven't even had bases, but that could possibly be one.
Could I ask a question on
Yeah,
that? Did we ever get the rodeo grounds upgraded? The lights?
yes,
Last time?
those were done last year.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are they done? Did they ever get them done with the timer and everything
Yep.
they were
yep,
supposed to
they're
do?
all done, ready to go. And I don't know if you noticed this year at Tomato Days, the old poles were actually taken down. So last year when they put up the new lights, the new poles hadn't been taken down, but right before Hooper Tomato Days, they actually came in and took out the poles.
Who did that? Did we do that or did the company do it?
Yeah, Jared would
The-
know.
okay.
I don't know who it was. It was somebody Jared arranged to have those poles taken down, which really was good because we still had wires stringing across there, so that wasn't a really good thing to have the wires. So notice it when you go down there. It looks much better.
So
Okay.
are these gonna be major grants?
Well, it
or
would all depend on how much they are.
Okay.
And I don't know.
What's the breaking point
So
of major?
anything over 200,000 is a major grant. So remember, you know, in order to get maximum points, you need 50%, but that can be match. So it could be, you can match with land that it sits on. It could be like our guys doing some of it or using equipment. So it doesn't all have to be money, but you do need to have preferably a match. Then you can apply, so one major you can apply for, 3 parks and recs you can apply for, and 3 that are in the cultural arts and museums. And those are under 200,000. And then the next ones that aren't due until March are those 3 easy grants that Debbie had done for us last year.
What was the third one you said?
The cultural arts and museums. Yeah. Okay, another thing they mentioned. So we've gradually been trying to upgrade the park power. And so any of the power that we have down at the Old Hooper Park is great now. It really is. So they put in the new, box. It's like a 200 amp panel that's on the southeast corner's great. They have one that runs the amphitheater, which is great on the back of that backstop. I mean, it's not on it, next to it. A grant that they completed this year was one, so there's power that goes by the small pavilion, which is great. There's one down by the rodeo grounds. The place that still is not so great is the fence line that runs east and west, north and south on the east side behind the rodeo bleachers. So there's like none of those that work. And so that was one thing they said of possibly doing a power upgrade on that east fence behind the bleachers, that it could go from the south, which is where you come in to the rodeo grounds to the north. And even if they wanted to turn that a little bit to the east, they could, not necessarily have to. That's a possibility. Another one that was mentioned, and I've had a few.
So would that be a major?
I don't think so. I don't know that any of these so far
Or
are
Parks and Rec,
majors.
maybe?
Yeah, I think they'd be Parks and Recs. One thing that I've had a few calls on, but there might be some other place we could look for this too, is if we had a sidewalk. So I've had a few people that have called that if they are in a wheelchair or a walker, we don't have a sidewalk that goes from where, so you come in those main on the south, we have that nice wide, but if they want to go over to the restrooms or over to the military monument or then into the rodeo, like the rodeo, they could come up the other road, it's hard. And so they mentioned about possibly doing a sidewalk that would go from the one by the large pavilion, possibly to the restrooms, and then even to where the military marker is, because it was a veteran that's called a couple of times and said it would really be nice to have some way that he could get there in his wheelchair. So that could be a possibility. Another one was, Jared said, a return alley for the rodeo arena, because when they are doing like the rodeo and they have to bring the cattle back. This year we made kind of a makeshift one to bring the cattle back along the side back to where the chutes are. But if we could actually do one that was a more, permanent return alley. Some things we can do for arts and museums, we could actually write a grant for the rodeo. So we don't break even on the rodeo. We don't have enough capacity for our seating. By the time we have all the ticket sales, we don't make enough money that pays for our stock contractor. But that would be under arts and museums, because they consider rodeo to be an art and museum. This year's our 100th year anniversary for Hooper Tomato Days, so we could write a grant, and we have in the past for a concert. But if we get Brad Paisley, that's what I keep saying, Brad Paisley to come. Just joking. My kids say Post Malone, and I say,
Maybe do it for free.
Jelly Roll. What? Anyway, we could write we could write a bigger grant for a concert, and that would be under arts and museums that we could do. We could write one to do like our veterans program, and we are one of those committees that we're going to start doing. I mentioned we have these volunteer committees. One of them is community arts. One of them is under the arts. An arts council. So that's just some ideas.
Just under Parks and Recs, let's add landscaping around our pickleball courts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
a great one.
Landscaping and sprinkler system.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna get our courts sandblasted to
We
death
are.
and they'll have no surface.
Yep, that's a real good idea. Okay. Anyway, be thinking, come up with ideas, and let's try next month to, maybe if ahead of time you have ideas that we could actually vote, so we could get working on these.
Okay.
So, and,
I'm taking the class,
oh, good,
so.
okay. The
So,
only other
so we
thing
put grants in each one of these categories.
We can.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep, and that only other thing they said, but I don't know if this would really be a grant, they said they really need a new water hydrant, and I don't even know if it's a hydrant, they need a way to be able to water the arena, they need it in a different
Like a can
location.
or something?
Well, they said it's where it is cars pull in it, and then they can't get their truck in there to fill up, it's when they're watering the arena, like for Tomato Days or the whole anyway, that was another one, but I don't know if that really fits or not. But some other things we talked about was possibly bathrooms at the Wildwood Park. We have a nice park at the Wildwood, but we don't have restrooms. So people don't go use it because if
And the
there's
grass.
not restrooms.
The
Yeah,
grass has been
I think
a
even
problem.
soccer would use the grass, and it has a nice playground, it has a
Great
pavilion,
playground.
but for sure without
Excellent parking
restrooms,
lot,
nice parking
big
lot, yeah.
parking lot.
They're not going to go use it. And it was mentioned too, possibly an amphitheater, that would be a fun thing to have. And then the other thing was power panels. We have 2 large power panels that we share with West Haven, but they said it would be nice to even have some power panels. So just be thinking, these were just some suggestions that they was given to me and it's 7:00. So we need to get started, but Okay.
Okay.
We got the bud, and then
Are you really? Who's the one easy right now? Dell hug. She's cold.
Started sugar. I almost bought a sweater and then I thought, oh, I got long sleeves on. I don't need a sweater. I wish I'd have bought it.
we would like to call this meeting to order. It is a city council meeting, Hooper City, October 3rd, 2024, and we welcome all of you for being here. We're going to go ahead and have our opening ceremony. The Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Councilmember Fowers, the reverence by Councilmember Wilcox.
Everybody please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you this day and give thanks for all the blessings we have enjoyed, for the freedoms we enjoy. We ask blessing on those who are suffering from devastating effects of hurricanes and bad weather. Bless them that they will be restored to their normal life soon. We're grateful for the leaders of our country who try to keep us free and to obey the laws. And we ask that would have a blessing over our community and the citizens here. These things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
We would like to excuse Councilmember Northrup, who's out of town and not with us tonight, and also we're glad to have Brandon Richards here with us, and Reed is also out of town. So just a couple of things on upcoming events. Just a reminder, this coming Wednesday, October the 9th at 7 o'clock, if any of you are interested in coming to hear more about our volunteer committees that we're going to be starting, that is our kickoff meeting for those. If you want any more information, you can call the city or Brian Steckline. It was in the newsletter with his information, or you can reach out to me and I can give you more information on that. And also, a week from Saturday is our annual Halloween haunt. That is from 6:30 to 9 o'clock down at Hooper Park, located at 5500 South, 6100 West, and a lot of fun activities, so plan on that. So we're going to start with public comments. Does anyone have a public comment before we get started with our meeting? Okay, seeing no public comments then, we will go on to number 5, consent items. We have a motion for the approval of our minutes from September 5th and also from September 19th. Has everyone had a chance to review those, and is there any corrections or additions?
I had a question on the minutes. It shows our 6 o'clock work meeting is part of our, will that be now part of our minutes that we're approving now? Because they're listed there.
We haven't done that before, and I noticed that also. Do we want those on the minutes, or do you not want those? Should we not have those? We don't need to then. Okay, duly noted. Okay, was there anything else? You had that one correction, didn't you, Debbie?
Yeah, the $2,000 a month instead of what should be a year.
Understand your lunch.
And was that also on the work meeting?
That was on the work meeting.
Okay, so we will correct that. That is on the September 15th minutes. Okay,
And the only other question I had is we had listed there too that we were going to discuss the fee schedules. Was that for the parks and that?
we were, and we just haven't had all of those updated. We've taken those and given them to the individual entities that are going to be reviewing those, and we haven't received those back. So hopefully we will by next time. We were having, like, for instance, like Public Works was going through the ones, I think I mentioned about, like, if we rented out the trucks, how much we would charge. Anyway, the roads, we've given those out, and we just haven't, so, and then, so we'll try to have all that ready so we can review that at our next meeting. Anything else?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes dated September 5th, 2024.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Maragoni. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Wilcox. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then we have the September 15th minutes. Is there anyone that would like to make that motion on those minutes?
Did you see any corrections down?
No, I'm just looking.
Furiously looking through there before I motion. I'll go ahead and motion for the approval of September 19th, 2024 minutes. I'll second.
So the motion was made by Councilmember Wilcox, seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so the next thing we have on our agenda is actually a presentation, but I was going to see if someone would want to make a motion. We could move the action item up for the final approval for the Perez subdivision, and we would take care of that first before we go into the presentation.
Is he here?
He is here. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So is there someone that would
Sure.
like to make that motion? We move that up now to the
I'll-
second.
I'll make a motion that we move item 8A, the Perez subdivision, ahead of the presentation for the soccer fields.
Okay. Motion was made by Councilmember Wilcox, seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, so we're going to first hear that. It is a motion for the final approval for the Perez subdivision, and we have a presentation from Malcolm.
Bringing the motion before the council for approval of this Perez subdivision located at 5998 South, 5100 West for Efrain Perez. This is a final plat review's been done. It's a one lot in an R1 zone, meets all the requirements in terms of frontage and square footage in that zone. You can see the site plan here of where the home will be located on a larger parcel, and he's carving off the smaller one, which will, upon approval, be recorded and separated out in their process. You can see here is where the actual site plan for the home will be, blown up here to give you an idea what it looks like. Primarily, the main consideration was just that the Planning Commission approved this with the condition that these updates were met. These updates were from our city engineer, JUB, along with updates from our Public Works Department, which have been incorporated into the same notes here. They were pretty interrelated. Ultimately, it made 10 updates. We just wanted to highlight and make sure they were reviewed and approved. We met as a city and also with our engineer, and I just wanted to review those items briefly, just for the sake of counting them. Item 1, owner's dedication must refer to Hooper City in the text. It has been updated. It's been stamped with, surveyor's. Item 2, surveyor's certificate must be stamped without preliminary. That's been updated as well. Item 3, it has been updated that state there will be no basement due to the restriction here, no basement on the plan. Item 4, it's been removed. The proposed sewer lateral has been removed from the property since there's no sewer there. Item 5, it was requested that the water connection also be removed on the drawing. It's been removed. Removed proposed secondary water lateral has happened on the plan. We looked in on item 6, the easement Rocky Mountain Power has. There is no easement, and so that consideration wasn't considered, as there's no easement and nothing to consider there. On item 7, we've received an agreement that the larger parcel is willing to waive the requirement for the land use separation fencing, meaning that neither occupants want that fence, and so we're okay with that agreement from the city and Public Works Department. Yeah.
I've got a question. So do we have that written
Yeah, we do.
from both parties? Because we've ran into that problem before. We'll
Yeah.
have a written letter from both saying they don't want that land use separation fence.
Yes, Taylor from JB received that, so yeah, we'll have that in place. 8, they did provide a drainage study and grading and drainage plan as required by the ordinance listed HCC 10-4A. In terms of 9, they did go on the utility exhibit frontage improvements, and they met these in terms of the drawings. But the larger consideration was item 10. The city would be recommending that these cost for improvements be escrowed for a later date should that development take place, just due to the isolation of the lot. And those are held typically for 10 years per the city standards. And so that's been discussed with the applicant as well, based off the city, but that's our recommendation to bring before you. So those were the items discussed in terms of the memo. The key issues here that we have all the approval letters. This is before my time, but from the outside entities have been provided. City staff comments have been adequately addressed, and the items listed in the memo from JEB Public Works have been resolved. So we just bring forward the recommendation for approval to the council.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Malcolm?
Can you go back to the first, map? That one right there. So is that plat owned by one ownership or two?
Currently, I'd imagine it's owned by one. It is owned by one per GeoGizmo, but I think that's part of this process, if I understand it correctly. Again, I'm only a 2-month city planner here, but right, to ever subdivide a plat, you have to go through the subdivision process through the city. And then once we approve it, they take it to the county recorder for recording. Otherwise, we get what's known as an illegal subdivided plat, which we don't, they can't subdivide it without us. But it is owned by one, yeah. We could look up the owner as well if you'd like to see.
That's okay, thank you.
So that hasn't been done yet?
I don't think it can be done until they've been approved. Yeah, it has to be an approved subdivision. Otherwise, the county, we wouldn't want them to ever, make a subdivision without our approval. Is that correct, Brandon?
Oh, that's right. So I would be surprised if this had been recorded, that's this process. So once we sign the plat, then it can go forward and it'll show off.
Any other questions for Malcolm? Okay, thank you. Okay, I know Mr. Perez is here. Would you like to come up and state your name? And if anybody has any questions for Mr. Perez.
I'm Efrain Perez, 3639 West, 4000 South in West Haven currently, trying to hopefully move out here.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Perez on this?
Maybe a question for Brandon and Mr. Perez. the plat that was shown, there's kind of a curve in the slough there. That where that blue arrow went through. And there's that dirt mound, the fill material that was brought in there for, I don't know, this was a year or so ago, but that process, and I don't know how much fill is down there, but I think there was an agreement that said that they would remove that fill material at some point. And I know the contamination of the slough was a concern because the path to get to that mound was over the top of the slough from 5100 West. Are you aware of any resolve?
I don't know, I don't have the current update on if they pulled mounds and dirt back out of it. I do know about the history over there, with the dirt being there.
I noticed on the notes from the commission meeting that you stated that even though this lot would be approved, this subdivision lot, that there's still an issue with that pile of dirt.
Oh, yeah, so
That doesn't change.
No. So if I can maybe explain a little bit deeper on that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Councilmember Hill, your question was dirt. So that dirt still needs to come out. So this particular lot is in full compliance with our city code, and it's fine. This little piece we're talking about. The rest of the property, I don't know if we still have an issue with that dirt. Still needs to come out. The city can choose to enforce that any way we want to, regardless of this subdivision approval. And so there are still issues related to that dirt that need to be taken care of. And that exists still. This does not cure that issue, if that's the question.
And have been pulling the dirt, just not all at once. So there was to try to keep, I guess, neighbors, I guess, at ease with having a whole bunch of trucks. But we have been taking it out, just not all at once, like how it came in and stuff. But we have been chipping away at it.
So we can say, I mean, and that would be my recommendation that we do stay on top of that because it has been a concern. So we may want to go in and kind of check on the progress. But this approval does not affect in any way the need to take care of that dirt issue on that other piece.
And it's not, your home won't be in the way of the driveway of getting back to that dirt? I mean,
No,
because there was once a building there, right? And
so yeah, there's a building there currently, and that's where I'm putting the home. There was like a shed built there, and I'm taking that down and putting the home there. And then when I first started this, Jared, I guess, he said if don't landlock the rest of it and leave like 66 foot, so even with my square chopped off, there'll still be a 66 foot access to go still to the rest of the land there. With the home there, no, there'll still definitely be access to keep taking that out.
How much do you estimate needs to come out of there still?
I don't know.
Truckloads, do you think?
Shoot.
Or timeline, what's your timeline when you receive?
Well, if you, I guess if the neighbors don't really care, or I guess it doesn't matter what they think, then I mean I can get a hold of a contractor that brought it in, and then I don't know, they could probably get it out there in a couple of weeks, but there's going to be a lot of traffic, and that's what the neighbors didn't want when it was getting brought in. But that's why I've kind of been doing it just slowly, a few truckloads here and there throughout like every week. But if it needs to be get out of there like now, I can just have all those trucks come in all at once and get it out of there.
No, I think the way you're doing it now is probably wise. You know, just do a little at a time so it doesn't come to stuff. So, and I'm sure you're going to keep some of it, right?
I was trying to just even it out because it was all lumpy all over, so we were trying to just even it all out. But if it all needs to come out and I just go back to the lumpy mess that I had, then that's fine too. I'm so sick of this.
Okay. So I guess the question is, does the city really even care if it comes out or not? You know, I mean, it's your property and it's your dirt, whatever. Why do we even have any oversight over it?
I think originally
mean, you're getting paid to store, it was a business.
Yeah, you're right,
Being
you're
stored.
right. It was coming from
Taking
some
stored
school,
business,
Davis County School that you could.
Exactly.
But I'm not getting paid to store it. You can go to them directly. I'm not getting paid to store it. But I mean, I don't.
But is someone, I mean, is your,
No.
where the dirt is
No, you
that property owner?
Yeah.
This is your dad.
Yeah, it's my dad. You can go to the contractor and ask them for all their invoicing or whatever it is that they do, and yeah, we're not getting paid for any of that. My dad was just like, oh yeah, I'm not using it. You guys can go ahead, but helping people really just screws you over, so I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, we're not getting paid. You can go to the district or wherever, but yeah.
So I guess I don't really answer that, but I think it probably could be figured out, like, if they want to keep that dirt there, and it's no longer, business or perhaps business, they don't keep it, like, we're okay with it, because they can use it. It's not, kicking up dust all over the place. I mean, I don't know, but somebody could go check that out, maybe it's just mine, I have no idea what the status is now. But I don't think, again, the approval of this won't change the status limited to the rest of it in any way.
Any other questions for Mr. Press? Okay, well, thank you. We'll bring the discussion back to City Council. Any questions, City Council, do you have on this? Any discussion you want to have on this? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion for final approval for the Perez subdivision located at 5998 South, 5100 West for Ephraim Perez.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Maragoni. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second was made by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, and the next thing we have then on our agenda, we're going to go back. We have a presentation from the UYSA, and we're happy to have Orden Yost with us tonight. So if you want to come up, and we have some slides that you've sent us, if you want to tell us what your plans are, and you'll just, I already stated his name for him, I guess he doesn't need to, but, so. Orden Yost.
If you'd like to use these slides, they're up for you now. Here you go, just click down to go down, up to go up, but just it's that down button. That'll take you to down the slides.
Thank you for inviting us to come and discuss this. I was contacted early this afternoon and asked to come because all the staff from our big company is in St. George. And so I have not seen this before, what we have, but I'm sure that it will cover part of the information that you'd like to have. And if you have any questions before the presentation, I'm happy to address those.
Any questions? Just probably go ahead and do your presentation then, and then we might have some.
So basically, at the end of the day, this is going to show that we're representing about 55,000 players in the state of Utah. It's the largest organization of soccer and any pre-sport here, and we've been involved for years. I'm a newbie. I've been involved for 48 years, and I help work particularly at this point on what we call Legacy Fields Project.
Push that down arrow there. You see that down? If you look at that, there's an arrow pointing down.
Okay, everybody got it. So we're promoting soccer. We feel that there's some great benefits from it. We're a 501c corporation, nonprofit. We're trying to help and develop children in many different ways in our state. And if you want to look at some of these longer, this is kind of the reach out showing the ages We start at age 3 for academy and go up to age 19 for our final groups of players. Most of our age groups that are functioning with large groups are in that middle 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 age groups. We're 40% young ladies and 60% men. This is an anomaly in our state in regards to the amount of players. You were talking about baseball field earlier. That typically doesn't affect and provide services for the young ladies. One of the reasons that we're heavily involved in soccer. The Legacy Fields Project is a major initiative underneath which we're trying to find, purchase, or lease or joint venture with cities or municipalities to establish more fields. Our state's getting bigger. I guess we all know that. We've got a lot of growth out here. And we're not building any more fields for that primarily, at least for our group. I just talked about the lack of fields. We're looking to establish and have fields that we can use for long terms.
Can I ask a question right there?
Yeah, please.
So does your organization own soccer fields today? Do you own some fields?
We do own some fields.
Where are some of those?
That's part of one of these slides, but we own fields in Cache County. And we have contracts out to own fields potentially in Marriott-Slaterville. We have contracts out to own fields in Utah County. And we have fields that will become available, 5 fields in Washington County at the Shibowitz Band of the Paiutes up by, what is it? Somewhere up there. But we have 5 fields there that are joint venture with them. Does that give you some information, Mr. Flowers?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We're talking about how we get the money to fund this site. Each player provides a certain amount of money per year that we've been collecting for many years. And so if we talk to you about wanting to do something, we have money to do it. We're broken up by regions. This region that we're in right here is region number 2. We have in excess of almost $2.5 million available to spend in this region. We have, again, as I indicated, we have fields in region 1. We're finalizing regions in field in number 3, and we have fields in region 6. Any questions on the breakdown? Locations: Wellsville, Shibowitz, west of Ivans. That's where we have current projects that are being built and are functioning for our players. That's a Wellsville layout. It's 4 fields on a little over 20 acres on Highway 8991. This is the design. We have 5 fields at the Shibowitz property. We broke ground in 21, and we will start playing on those next spring. We can accommodate 450 games per season at that. We have, this does not show it, but all these fields are lit. Proposed projects: Enoch, Harriman. I got 2 more interest this week, so we have multiple locations. It's starting to become a little bit better known and aware. We're trying to make differences in our communities, and I've given you a card, and I'm happy to give anyone here a card. You can contact me directly or Utah Youth Soccer.
You just set that there. Thank you.
Whatever, the back button?
You can just set it down there.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. What questions do you have for Mr. Yossi?
So you talked about joint venture and then you guys just purchased, so you're interested in this property, how much over here? So you intend to purchase it and do all the upgrades and,
We're willing, that would be our preference,
okay,
but we're not always able to do that in this heavy market of new home building and construction. It cost us approximately $300,000 to build the field, and then we have either road base or asphalt. We have probably a playground area with it and restrooms with it, and we typically maintain those fields to the specifications that we'd like to see them taken care of and striped and so forth.
so you contacted the property owner yet?
I don't know, I don't think we've contacted any property owners in this city. Anyone know that we have? Okay.
I guess one question I would have, so it seems like your organization pretty well takes care of everything. So why are you working with like Hooper City to do this? I mean, why?
Well, we had an inquiry by Mr. Hill, probably generated by something. We're negotiating right now on some fields in Far West. We're negotiating on some fields right now in Marriott Slaterville. And there were some questions about what we could and would do with our funds. And I understood maybe there was some interest of some helping on these existing fields that you have around your facility here, about coming in and improving those and making them better. That's not our typical method of operation. There was some questions whether it be correct or whether it was just hearsay, but we understood maybe the city was looking to purchase other land that they might want to have developed, and we do that jointly if they wanted us to. Or if there's land in the city that we could purchase, we would be willing to do that.
So you could do this, not that the city wouldn't be, I don't know where we would stand on that right today, but if the land was available, you would step in and purchase it and make all these improvements, and then you would.
We would maintain it, yes.
And they allow the public to use it when they don't have scheduled games and things going on. You know, obviously that's first priority, but you allow the public to use it on the.
We certainly would if it was a joint venture. If it's owned strictly by the club, we play 2 different seasons during the year, a spring and a fall season. We typically have to let fields because we use grass primarily. We need to have those rest a month or 2, and that's usually the summer and the late winter, November, December, part of January. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. If we're doing a joint venture with the city, then we realize that land belongs to the city. And during our off times, we're happy to have the use of some of the city activities on that. Obviously, we're not looking for polo to be played on that. And not sure about rugby to be played on that, but typical use of grounds similar to what you have being used around here. I mean, we're not looking for a baseball, wouldn't be set up for that. but we have football over here going, we have some soccer going over here that I observed on my way in. Those kind of uses, or a family in the neighborhood who wants to walk over and blow off some fireworks or something like that, if it were within that type of a zone, that certainly would be permissible.
What's your, on the projects you've joint ventured with, what's kind of the commitment on both sides? Like, what do you expect from the city?
It has to do somewhat with the length of time that the city or government entity is willing to give us as an assurance that we can use it. We can only put, we can't just go put $300,000, $500,000 into a project, and then in 5 years the city council changes and they want to take it back. That could happen, but if it did happen, we would amortize our cost of the facility on a 50-year basis, and the city would need to pay us, or municipality would need to pay us back the amount that hasn't been used or benefited for our players. Does that make sense? So, we're looking for, we'd love to see 35 years. Not a lot of people want to give us that much time because things do change. But that's why we've turned out to the process of trying to buy when we can, because they could be held forever, hopefully, for those facilities. But we would be thrilled to, if you're going to buy some other land for some kind of parks that could potentially be multi-use, we'd be willing to look at those and to help. We like cities or municipalities where we work with them to help us with infrastructure so that they have a little vested interest in the overall project in addition to providing the land. But we realize that the land belongs to the city, but we'd like to maintain it, take care of it, water it. Part of the challenge, we had a beautiful site in Syracuse we wanted to do, and the city would allow us to buy it. The problem was is we couldn't afford the water. And I don't know what kind of issues that we have in this city with water, but if water is as expensive as land is, that's not an opportunity that works for us. How is your water? Expensive. Yeah, when I'm paying $50,000 an acre for land, and it takes me 3 acres to just do one field, and the water's going to be that or double that. That's why there are no fields in Tooele. We can't build golf courses, but I saw 2 beautiful golf courses on my way in tonight, and they seem to be getting lots of water. I don't know who owns them.
Have you ever looked at artificial turf? I mean, I see an elementary school a mile and a half from here that their whole playground, excuse me, the whole playground and that's kind of an artificial turf. Have you ever?
Yes, we have. We priced artificial turf, and it's about 4 to 6 times more expensive than grass.
Grass plus water?
Yeah. I mean, in places that we can afford to buy the land and do the water, yes. If we were going to go to Tooele, we would do that, but we do have downtime in play. However, they're improving artificial turf so that the kind of beads they're using within the grass don't take up as much heat. But we do have a challenge in the summer with turf getting too hot. We play field games in Mesquite, Nevada, and 5 of those fields that we use down there are turf, and we can't play on them in the summertime. Turf is good for up to about 7 to 10 years, and then it has to be redone. So the cost of turf, which we would love to play on, is extremely expensive.
Well, soccer certainly is growing in popularity. We don't see it going anywhere. And there is always a lack of soccer fields. So these are used all the time
Yeah.
and sometimes overused a little bit, that underneath where the soccer goals are, you know, it starts to wear thin. So I certainly think that more soccer fields in Hooper would be a much needed addition to our
Well, we'd love to
community.
do that. We usually design our fields so that they're a little wider, not the actual play area that's wider, but the available ground's wider, so we can move those soccer goals each season in one direction. That helps reduce that wear and tear in that area. And then also, when we give it time to rest for a couple of months, that also helps that area.
When you mentioned Mesquite, you know, I know our kids have played down there, but they had soccer tournaments, which there were hundreds, and I don't know if I'd be stretching it to say a few thousand.
Yes,
You
there
know,
were.
with players and, are these fields that you're talking about, do you ever sponsor those types of tournaments where it would draw those types of crowds? Because then you're looking at parking and those kinds of things, or even places for people to stay, you know, to be able to stay overnight in some kind of hotel or something like that.
Well, those tournaments you go to in Mesquite, we're sponsoring. We rent all those fields and sponsor those tournaments down there, same as in St. George. We also have another soccer complex in the north end of Salt Lake County that's called the RAC, that we play those tournaments. We bring in national, international teams to play there. We will also play tournaments on the Chivowitz property with 5 fields, along with what we have in Mesquite, will allow us to play tournaments there. Typically, we need to have somewhere around 5 to 10 fields to run a national tournament on and to bring in, but there's likelihood that if we can put some fields here, that if we have maybe 4 more that we could have, we will have tournaments on there, but it won't be the size of what you've seen at President's Cup or something of that nature in Mesquite. Because we use all the fields at the major project, which is, I think, 10 fields, and then we use high school, 3, 4, 5 other locations that have multiple fields in that Mesquite area for tournaments there, all at the same time.
Maybe can I make a suggestion?
Pardon me?
I think it'd be a really positive thing. What I would probably do is reach out to the landlord and see if you can tie it up so we can further the discussion, you know, because we don't own the property that you're wanting to do this on.
We'd love to be helpful in that process if we could.
But I would talk to the landowner and tell him the city's, you know, very positive on it. See if you can tie it up for a time and so we can kind of put something together or something that might work.
That'd be
That's what
wonderful.
I would do. Since we don't own it.
Well, there's a possibility that we could, though. So the joint venture is the city owning the property and then coming in and developing it and maintaining it for 30-plus years in a joint venture. I mean, that's a great thing, because eventually the city would take ownership of it. The other side of the coin is they strictly buy it, but the accessibility is limited if they have the ownership of it. Because they decide what happens with it, not the city and them. It's strictly them. And so, if we could make it happen, the joint venture to me would be a win-win for the city. If there's a benefit to the city by doing it that way. That's why we're in it, is to make a benefit for the city, not for a nonprofit. Right?
I'm not opposed to helping the city. They help us. You have a about 300 players in your city based on zip code information. You have within 5 to 10 miles, you have over 3,000 players who are playing Utah Youth Soccer. Just to give you an idea of the amount of people that are involved right here locally. And what happens is that your local teams invite other teams to come and play here, which should bring in an economic value to your city. So there are some really benefits that way, depending on the amount of services that you have in your city. Because they'll stop at every service station, every place to eat food, because that's what we do when we take kids home. We don't worry about what the game score was, we want to know what they want to eat.
That's what we wish we had.
Yeah.
We wish we
Yeah, we
had
don't
one
have
right on
service.
the corner that they all could stop at on the
Yeah.
way out. Spend the money, but we do not. We have one store.
Any other weird questions that you might have or wonder? All your questions have been wonderful, and I don't think they're any, but if you're having some question but you don't want to ask it because you think it's a little off key, would suggest that you ask it. I'm happy to answer them.
I would say I have 5 boys and every one of them play or do play UYSA, and so we're always going, west toward the soccer complex or all of it. It would be awesome to have more fields up north, west of that.
That's what we're working on.
And it is true after the game, though, my kids would always say, after they won, can we go get a treat, and then to celebrate the win, and then if they lost, can we go get that same treat to, console us. So there's, that side of it.
So we've had quite a few studies done over the years, and we do find that there is an economic value to having soccer fields in your area. And so that's one of the benefits to a city doing a joint venture with us or leasing us the land or whatever you might want to do. But just remember, if we're going to put that kind of money into a field, we need the guaranteed use of it for a reasonable period of time. Because we can't take the kids' money and buy something and build a field and lose it in 3 years.
How many acres how many acres, for example, would require for 4 soccer fields?
A little over 20.
Okay.
And that's including parking, and we're looking for a place that we can get sewer to. We need restrooms. I heard conversations about places that you don't have restrooms, people don't like to go to. We have to have restrooms, and sometimes we might start with porta potties initially as we're developing a site. But so we need sewer, we need water, culinary, and second. We need those opportunities to have those. We don't need to be 10 or 15 miles or 1,000 feet away from something where it's going to have to be dug and brought in. We need to have those capabilities to do that. And when we marry with this municipality, then sometimes those can be brought in a lot cheaper by the municipality than they can by going hiring someone to do it.
You ever put lights up? I mean, is your plans so they can play later in the evening? Do you do that?
We play 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock on Monday through Friday. We play 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Saturdays. That's our typical schedule. We play from February to May, and then we play from from August to October. Those are our typical time frame. Then if we have tournaments on one, as you asked, then we would do that during the other times of the year, in the summer or potentially in fall.
Thanks for coming, we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Any
It's
other
my
questions?
pleasure. And may I commend you on what you're doing around your facility. Gets a lot of people activated, keeps all the graffiti off all the houses and the walls and everything. I mean, if we can invest children in something good to do, they're not doing something else. So we would recommend and commend you for what you're doing in regards to that. Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time. And he has my card, and Mr. Hill has my card, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is public comments. Does anyone have any public comments to make this evening? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Flowers, seconded by Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Aye.